Greetings from the boogie down South Bronx. This is Jeffrey Cortez again, reading from my novel, Memoirs of Pastor Rajatabla, Pentecostal Private Eye. All right, a description of the intention of me writing this book, or the book's intention, is posted below. You could read that. Also, if you would like to have a hardcover or paperback of the book or a Kindle edition, you could order that online from Amazon. If you would like to order a paperback for pickup, you could order also through Barnes & Noble's. The Barnes & Noble's website, you go there, you could order the book. It's only available for pickup. I believe it's available for pickup or delivery. You could choose the location nearest to you. And I'll be reading from chapter 13. All right, so I've been uploading a reading chapter by chapter. A quick clarification or reminder is that Raja is the main character in this fictional storylines, and his character is a pastor of a small Spanish Pentecostal storefront church in an urban setting, and he's approached by members of his community, neighborhood, or nearby congregations, whether they be congregants or leaders, regarding concerns they have, whether it be based on gossip, insecurity, hysteria, or a real occurrence. So Raja, with his observation skills, clinical skills, free of charge, he goes and he does his observations, he does his investigation, and then he writes in his journal what the conclusion is. And his journal he has nicknamed Tabla, and that's the inside joke, Rajatabla. An explanation of what Rajatabla is also at the bottom of the description of this book. If you read it, it's right below. All right. In the posting, you'll be able to read that underneath. Okay. So, chapter 13: Musical tantrums and ransoms. Musical tantrums and ransoms. And the introductory Bible verse to this chapter is from Proverbs chapter 22, verse 22. Don't hang out with angry people. Don't keep company with hotheads. Bad temper is contagious. Don't get infected. Okay, so let's see what this story is about. Bishop Mack was frantic as he contacted Raja. His church was broken into and most of the musical instruments and electronic music systems were stolen. There was a world-renowned media company that had selected his church to produce a documentary about urban churches and their musical talents. The bishop's church was selected out of hundreds in the city for this documentary. Bishop Mack was known to be a very big-hearted pastor to which many outcast former members of other churches gravitated to. The bishop had the knack of identifying talents and skills and put them to use in his church. Many talents and gifts bloomed and blossomed beautifully under his nurturing. As his congregation grew, its popularity also grew. The bishop's inclinations to gather many disgruntled members started to lack wisdom in screening them when it came to granting them significant roles in his church service ministries. Dear Tabla, after meeting with the bishop today and consoling him regarding the theft of equipment, I returned to our church to let in a couple of volunteers who help with the maintenance of our own sanctuary. I was greeted by Ishmael, aka otherwise known as Bugsy, who recently started attending our church and expressed wanting to become a member. He had a load of musical equipment and inquired where he could store them in the church. I invited him to my office area for a little talk. It turned out that Bugsy was a talented musician and wanted to bless our church with his gifts. He owned the best of musical equipments and wanted them situated in the sanctuary where he could lead the church's music ministry. When I asked if he heard about the break-in robbery that occurred in Bishop Mack's church, Bugsy broke out in laughter. It turned out that the missing equipment of the bishop's church were actually Bugsy's property, which he abruptly took back without fair warning. After a brief talk, it was evident that Bugsy was an ill-tempered believer who often used his musical contributions as spiteful leverage. He often jumped from church to church whenever he did not get his way or felt slighted. Bugsy wore his easy-to-be-offended tendencies as though it was a relished badge of honor, and enjoyed disrespectfully refusing offered gestures of reconciliation. As he continued to ask me where he could store his equipment, I informed him that we would not be able to afford him. He then graciously explained that he would minister in our church for free. I asked Bugsy if he would consider meeting with Bishop Mack and work toward a civil fence mending. He laughed and thought I was joking. Bugsy appeared to be under the impression that I would not want to miss out on having him, his invaluable talents, and his instruments ministering at our church. I respectfully explained to him that I and the church would not have the seasoned capacity to pay the price of having someone who practices anger participating in ministering to the congregation. It wasn't Pentecost tongues of fire that I saw on Bugsy's head, but rather fumes as he left my company in a huff. As he reloaded his equipment into his van, he turned around and glared at me. Lord, forgive me. I could not help myself and commented toward him. And anyways, we are greatly blessed with cutting edge wind armpits and whistling musicians. That's a reference to a former story, a prior chapter. Okay, so bendición en bendiciones. Bye-bye.